Before British, another European power ruled India's coast, not just through trade, but through war, forced conversions, and a brutal crackdown on Hindu traditions. The Portuguese entrenched in Goa, destroyed temples, banned festivals, and unleashed the terror of the Inquisition. And then came Chhatrapati Sambhaji. Unlike any ruler before him, he didn't just resist, he took the fight directly to the Portuguese, challenging their naval dominance while also sheltering Mughal Prince Akbar, who had rebelled against his father Aurangzeb. In the 15th century, Pope Nicholas V, through Dom Devereux and Romanist pontifex, granted the Portuguese the divine right to conquer, enslave, and most importantly, convert non-Christian lands. With Vasco da Gama set to sail toward the Indian coast, seeking an alternative route for global trade beyond the Middle East, he landed at Calicut in 1498. Just 12 years later, Afonso de Albuquerque captured Goa in 1510, aided by local Hindu groups distraught with the Muslim rule of Bijapur Sultanate. This was the first European colonial conquest on the Indian subcontinent, and the Portuguese would prove to be just as ruthless as the British in later years. At first, the Portuguese gained the trust of Hindu population by offering religious freedom, but within just 30 years, they betrayed this promise. Under Jesuit missionaries and Franciscan priests, the policy of rigor de misericordia was introduced. Hindu temples were demolished, and their wealth was redirected to fund Christian institutions. Hindu festivals were outlawed, Brahmins were expelled, and new temple construction was banned. Christianity was declared the only legal religion. Enter Saint Francis Xavier, the founding member of the Jesuits. He blamed the local Goan authorities for being too lenient towards Hindus, Muslims, and Jews, and was instrumental in lobbying for what would become one of history's most brutal religious tribunals, the Goan Inquisition. In a letter to the King of Portugal, he wrote, "The secondary necessity for the Christians is that Your Majesty establish the Holy Inquisition, because there are many who live according to the Jewish law and according to the Mohammedan sect without any fear of God or shame of the world." Just 8 years after Xavier's death in 1560, the Goa Inquisition was officially established at the Palace of the Inquisition in Old Goa. This was one of the harshest inquisitions in the world, surpassing them in Spain and Portugal itself. Their conversion tactics involved the most brutal methods to extract confessions, including the rack, water torture, the garucha, and more. Those who refused to comply with their rules were paraded naked, humiliated, and burned alive on Catholic feast days. By 1667, Goa and Salsette had become 100% Catholic, but Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had grown discontent with Portuguese rule. By 1675, he besieged Ponda Fort, marking the beginning of generational war against the Portuguese. Chhatrapati Shivaji's army was preparing for an invasion at the Goa border when the devastating news of the Chhatrapati's demise arrived. When word of his death reached the Portuguese viceroy, he rejoiced. The state is now free from anxiety. He was far more dangerous in peace than in war. But his joy was short-lived. Shivaji Raje's son, Chhatrapati Sambhaji, would not only continue his father's fight but take it to a decisive conclusion. At first, Chhatrapati Sambhaji pursued peace with the Portuguese to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. He negotiated for better relations between the Marathas and Portuguese, but the Portuguese weren't to be trusted. Despite claiming to be allies of Swarajya, they secretly betrayed Chhatrapati Sambhaji, a move that nearly cost him his life. To understand this treachery, we must shift our focus to the Mughals. In 1678, Maharaja Jaswant Singh of Jodhpur, a loyal Mughal vassal, died while serving in Afghanistan. His newborn son, Ajit Singh, was denied the throne by Aurangzeb, who used his posthumous birth as a pretext to annex Jodhpur under direct Mughal rule. By 1679, Aurangzeb reimposed jizya, a discriminatory tax that excludes Muslims, infuriating Rajput rulers. The Rathors of Marwar and Sisodias of Mewar rebelled, and in 1680, Aurangzeb sent his son, Prince Akbar, with a massive Mughal army to crush the rebellion. However, the Rajputs, led by Durgadas Rathore, went ahead with a relentless guerrilla war, cutting off Mughal supply lines and launching hit-and-run attacks from the rugged hills. But there was a twist. Akbar himself opposed his father's policies. Instead of fighting the Rajputs, he declared himself emperor, forming an alliance with Rajputs. Aurangzeb, a master manipulator, forged letters tricking Rajput generals into believing believing Akbar planned to betray them. The alliance crumbled and Akbar fled to the Deccan, seeking asylum with Chhatrapati Sambhaji. This decision changed everything. Now, Chhatrapati Sambhaji was Aurangzeb's biggest enemy. The Mughal emperor shifted his priorities from the Rajput to Marathas as they were the one sheltering his son. Now, what stood between his son and the Mughal army was Chhatrapati Sambhaji, for which Aurangzeb sought support from the Portuguese, to which they unsurprisingly agreed. In 1681, newly appointed Viceroy Tavora Conde de Alvar assumed control of Goa and began executing long-cherished dream to annex entire Konkan coast with Aurangzeb. By December of 1682, Mughal forces laid siege to Kalyan Fort, aiming to cut off Maratha supplies and deal a decisive blow. The Portuguese aided in this attack, as they allowed Mughal warships from Surat to pass through Portuguese-controlled waters near Chaul. They also supplied grains, logistics, and key intel to Bahadur Khan's army, all while masquerading as an ally of Marathas and remaining neutral. Chhatrapati Sambhaji, in this grave situation, against all terrible odds, launched a series of devastating guerrilla raids on Mughal supply lines, and the losses suffered by Mughals were so heavy that by 1683 they were forced to abandon the siege and retreat. After this battle, Sambhaji got acquainted with the secret alliance of Portuguese with Mughal and were left with the choice of tolerance or war with the traitors, and he clearly chose the latter to finally end the war his father strived for. On the rainy night of July 23, 1683, the Marathas attacked Fort Chaul and adjacent Korlai Fort with 2,000 horses and 6,000 infantry. Simultaneously, he ordered an all-out assault on Janjira, the stronghold of the Siddhis, descendants of African slave soldiers allied with the Mughals as their naval wing. By September, Sambhaji's forces raided Vasai, destroying the much-needed grains ready for harvesting to aid in depleting Portuguese resources. At Parsik Fort, the Marathas ambushed Portuguese troops. Sambhaji Raje also sent his Peshwa, Nilkant Moreshwar, with 7,000 men to reinforce his forces at Chaul and took possession of a hill close to the town of Chaul, bringing cannons with them to bombard the fort. The Portuguese, shaken by the scale of multiple attacks, urgently requested reinforcements from the Viceroy of Goa. However, fearing that diverting too many resources northward would leave Goa vulnerable to a Maratha naval assault, the Viceroy sent only a small ship loaded with ammunition to the northern provinces. Meanwhile, the Mughals dispatched 400 troops to support the defense of Chaul, but their efforts made no difference. By this point, the Maratha siege was unstoppable. The northern Portuguese provinces were left in ruins, reduced to ashes, as the Marathas, under the command of Peshwa Nilopant, captured Chembur, Taloja, and Salsette Island from the Portuguese. Even the English were alarmed by the scale of the Maratha offense, prompting them to initiate secret negotiations to sell Bombay to Chhatrapati Sambhaji for 40,000 pagodas. On October 27, 1683, Portuguese Viceroy of Goa took an offensive stance and launched a siege on Ponda Fort, previously captured by Chhatrapati Sambhaji. This opened a new front against Sambhaji Raje in South Konkan. The Desais of Konkan allied with the Portuguese, providing them with the key intelligence and manpower. Inside the fort, Yasaji Kank, a veteran leader and childhood friend of Shivaji Raje, commanded the Maratha forces with 300 musketeers and 200 additional infantry scattered around the hills. The siege began on November 1st, 1683, and within days, a breach was made in the outer wall. The Portuguese rushed in, only to fall into a Maratha ambush. However, the Marathas faced a serious problem. They were heavily outnumbered and required reinforcements. The Viceroy, confident in his European firepower, continued bombarding the fort relentlessly. Despite 6 days of incessant firing, the fortress stood strong. Eventually, the Portuguese breached the inner wall, and the Marathas were greeted with the first sign of a tiny defeat. But Sambhaji was already prepared. He mobilized 8,000 cavalry and 1,500 infantry and personally advanced toward Ponda. During the fierce battle, the Marathas suffered the tragic loss of Yasaji Kank, but on November 9, 1683, on the day of breach, Sambhaji Raje himself arrived in the fort with 600 reinforcements to lift the siege under the eyes of the Portuguese. His presence electrified the Maratha soldiers. With renewed vigor, they launched a fierce counterattack, forcing the Portuguese into a full retreat. On November 10, 1683, the demoralized Portuguese abandoned 300 bags of rice and 200 oxen, fleeing from Ponda Fort entirely. On November 24th, 1683, at 8 pm, 40 Maratha soldiers silently infiltrated Santo Estevão in disguise, assassinating Portuguese captain Manuel de Silva and seizing artillery. A cannon blast signaled Sambhaji's forces waiting across the river to storm Goa. The Portuguese were in disarray. At sunrise, the viceroy, along with 400 soldiers, rushed toward a hilltop church only to fall into a Maratha trap. Hidden cavalry units ambushed them, striking the viceroy with musket fire, barely allowing him to escape with his life. 300 Maratha horsemen then stormed the Portuguese ranks, forcing a humiliating retreat. Fleeing Portuguese soldiers drowned in the river, their bodies drifting past Goa. The entire battle unfolded in the full view of horrified onlookers as European traders watched the mighty Portuguese collapse in disgrace, and they didn't lend a hand. They were beginning to understand the consequences of betraying the Maratha Empire and facing the wrath of Chhatrapati Sambhaji, a fury that was far from over. By 1683, the Marathas launched their most aggressive offense against the Portuguese. Sambhaji Raje, leading 6,000 cavalry and 10,000 infantry, invaded Salsette and Bardes. A fortified peninsula had 3 well-stocked forts, but this did not deter the Marathas. 40 Maratha soldiers breached the walls, allowing the cavalry to push inside. The Portuguese garrison, too terrified to fight, locked themselves inside the fort. The Marathas burned down structures and churches as they advanced. At Tivim Fort, called Saint Christopher, the Portuguese surrendered within 10 days due to a severe shortage of drinking water. The Marathas seized 46 artillery pieces, disarmed the Portuguese soldiers, and stripped them naked, tying their hands behind their backs before expelling them in humiliation. Sambhaji conquered all 4 forts of Bardes and achieved the same outcome in Salsette. The churches in Salsette were transformed into military outposts, stocked with ammunition and provisions. Chhatrapati Sambhaji did not stop there. In retaliation for the Portuguese humiliating Hindu civilians, he ordered 140 Christian missionaries to be stripped naked and marched out of Goa like they did to humiliate Hindu civilians. Realizing the imminent Maratha invasion of Goa, Viceroy of Goa rushed to the church of Bom Jesus, where the body of Saint Xavier lay. He prayed desperately, seeking divine intervention to save Portuguese rule in India, as he knew Chhatrapati Sambhaji was preparing for final assault on Goa and put the end to his entire colony of Portuguese in the land of Swaraj. But fate had other plans. Sambhaji Raje, who had faced adversity throughout his life, whether within his own family or on the battlefield, was met with yet another challenge. An army of 1 lakh Mughals, led by Shah Alam, son of Aurangzeb, descended upon Konkan. This forced Chhatrapati Sambhaji to withdraw from Goa and shift his focus to the imminent Mughal threat. He faced an impossible choice: destroy Goa but risk being crushed between Mughals and Portuguese. Withdraw and live to fight another day. Chhatrapati Sambhaji withdrew, but the damage was done. Though he couldn't capture Goa, he delivered a crushing blow to Portuguese morale for their betrayal, a lesson they would not soon forget. While all this was going on in the Indian mainland, around the same time period, the French were also discriminating against a group of people, similar to how the Portuguese did with Hindus, but even more shockingly, they were Christians. Click here to learn about the persecution of Quegos by French rulers and the Church.